The goal, the shoes, the fuel, the kit, and the race strategy. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome back to another video. Excited to share the final details with you for the upcoming Abingdon Marathon, which is happening on Sunday, the 20th of October. Really excited to go through all of this with you, hopefully answer some of your questions. And if you have any more, please do feel free at the end of the video to drop them in the comments below. Now, every week on a Sunday morning, I'm dropping a marathon training series video, which covers the previous week of training in the build up to this marathon. And then on a Monday, I'm also dropping a long run video. So I'm trying to showcase and highlight the main key areas of my training in the build up. And I appreciate all of your comments on those videos. But of course, I get questions, and I thought, why not at this stage, when you know what's going on and you know what's happening, drop the answers out in one video so that hopefully it answers everybody's questions. And then of course, at the end of the video, if you have any more, do feel free to drop them in the comments below. So without further ado, let's get straight in and answer those questions. And let's kickstart with the goal. What is the goal of this marathon training block and the marathon itself? Well, it's sub 240. That's what I said at the beginning of the training block, and nothing has changed. I believe I vocally came out and said in one of the episodes, somewhere between 236 and 238 would be a dream, and that is exactly where I am shooting for. Nothing's changed, nothing will change. That is the target, and I will not change that. To be honest with you, I said at the start of the year, London was for fun. 2 marathons this year, London was for fun. Get into some good shape if I could. I didn't, but get into some good shape if you could and run it and see what happens. But autumn is where you're going to target. I have not deviated from that, and although I've had a couple of wobbles in this training block mentally, I feel like I've really been able to lock in over the last few weeks and really get myself into some good fitness. So that is the goal. Nothing is changing. And I'm just a firm believer in the fact that if you get through a training block, naturally, you're going to get fitter. If you train right, you're going to get fitter through a training block, but just don't adjust your training goals, because ultimately, unless you've made a massive error in your judgment of fitness for whatever reason, then if you're suddenly looking like you're nudging towards a different marker, I'm not necessarily a believer that you should actually do that. I'm the type of guy that plays it safe. I'd rather tick a box, get that time done that you're shooting for, and then move on to the next time. So for example, at the moment, obviously 236 to 238, that's where I want to go for. Potentially on a good day, I could maybe go 235. Not interested, and I know a lot of you have said it, and I appreciate it a lot, trust me. But I just want to tick that box, 236 to 238, or just a sub 240. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to focus on. I don't want to jeopardize that in any way, shape or form. So that's what I'll be going for. And then in the next training block, rather than going, oh, I'll try and go sub 235, then potentially I can then look at going maybe sub 234 or 233. So I'm just aiming to take realistic chunks off my marathon time. Nothing's changed. That is exactly what we're going for. And let's move on to the shoes. The race shoes have now finally arrived. So I put a couple of videos up about this over the last few weeks. First of all, I was toying with the Alpha Fly 3. Then I just didn't really want to go with the Alpha Fly 3. I kind of thought I would give it a go, but I had a box fresh pair of Next% version 2s, broke those out, trained in them a little bit, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, I want to use the Next%. And then I found a great deal on the internet from Sport Pursuit for a pair of Next% 2s in my size for £120. Now the Next% version 1 and 2, I prefer version 1 of course, but version 2 still feels good to me in terms of the geometry of the shoe. It's just always really worked. I've run good marathons. My best marathons have always been in Vaporflies, and so I want to stick with that trend. So I've got that box fresh pair that has now arrived. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll get a long run done and then probably 2 sessions in them, break them in, ready for race day. So that's going to be the plan there. A lot of you again have highlighted, Andy, why aren't you running in the Adios Pro 3? And you have a really good point. I have run my Adios Pro 3 into the ground during this training block, and they have been the ultimate training partner. I have raced in them once before they got 100 miles in them. I just don't find they have a lot of pop in them, but what they do have is incredible cushion and a good bit, enough responsiveness to be a good trainer, but not enough when it comes to race day. Like, I'm a massive Vaporfly fan. I love the way it feels. I love how propulsive it is, and I love, not the version 3, but the 1 and the 2, I love how springy it feels underfoot. I've always gone for it, and it always gives me a good mental boost. I don't get that from the Adios Pro 3, but as I said, what I do get is a good 40mm slab of that beautiful Light Strike Pro, which cushions your legs, but you also get that super shoe-esque feeling when you're running in them. And honestly, I do attribute a lot of this training block going well to that shoe. I've done a lot of long run workouts in them, a lot of workouts in general, and they've been absolutely stellar. 439 miles at the point of recording this, and they will get more, probably over 500 at this rate. They're just going so strong. So yes, I do agree, if I had a backup pair and I didn't have the Next Percents, they probably would now absolutely be my racing shoe of choice. But I've got my Vaporfly sorted, and to be honest with you, that's what I prefer to race in anyway. And I'm delighted to say that fueling is also now sorted as well. So I will be using the Morton Gel 100s. Now, with Newport last year, I managed to have a really successful marathon with the Gel 100s, but I couldn't quite take on that last gel that would have given me enough to see me over the line, and probably, if I'm honest, cost me that sub 240. But I just felt too sick. It was just too much. And I bumbled over the line and I got the job done. So this training block was all about trying to get more calories on board, train the stomach, train the gut to be able to take on more. So I used the Gel 160s from Morton. But straight from the off, something wasn't quite right. I had a couple of good early runs with them, but I was only using 1 or 2. But the second I tried to use more than that, I just felt as sick as a dog and I could not take on any more fuel. And a couple of those early long runs were not great. So I made that pivot about 3 weeks ago now and went back to the Gel 100s, and it has been an absolute dream. It's enough calories there, clearly, for me to do the job in training, but not enough to make me feel sick. And in particular, the last 2 long runs, I've managed to get 4 gels down me plus a gel before, which is exactly the amount that I was able to take at Newport. And I can confirm I did not feel sick once during any of those runs. So that's a really good sign. So I'm going to risk it for a biscuit. I'm going to take 5 gels out on course with me and see if I can get the 5th one down out on race day. And let's move on to kit. We'll keep this one nice and short and sweet because it's dead simple. I'll be using the Say Sky Sub Whatever singlet, which you saw me running in the Boddington long run video. If you saw the Podium 5K and you saw a ton of other race videos, that is a singlet. That is my go-to race singlet now. I absolutely love it. The cobalt blue combat shorts that, again, I wore in the Boddington long run video, and then the black, maybe it will be the white racing socks. I've got a black and a white pair. Probably the white, and that'll be it. Nice and easy. I don't think I'm going to be wearing a hat this time with the camera. The beauty of these combat shorts is I have pockets on the side, so I will have my gels in the left hand side, as I always do in training, and then I'll have a free pocket in the right. So I'm probably going to take my GoPro and just stash it in the pocket there. I did that at Newport. I didn't wear a head cam that time. I want to focus on performance, so I'll just carry a camera around in my pocket, pull it out and take some footage every now and again, probably in the early stage of the race when I'm not hurting too much. I'll get as much footage as I can, but in terms of kit, I'm going to be running light, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing. And then finally, racing strategy. Let's talk about how I plan to approach the race. So I'm basically trying to copy as much of what I did at Newport, where I was successful, as I want to do in this one. And what worked really well for me was just starting a bit slower and working into it. What I did at Newport, my race strategy there was to take the first 3 miles. First mile was literally, it was a moderate mile, a zone 2 mile, around like a 6:30 something, and then I dropped down for the next 2 miles to like 16s. I think it was like a 6:19 and a 6:14. So then I was just slightly slower than marathon pace. And then at mile 4, I started to lock into that lower end zone. Now I've set myself zones in this training block of, okay, so let me reset that. Newport was 6 flat per mile to 6:10. And so I started mile 4 at Newport at that top end, 6:08, 6:09, 6:07, somewhere around there. And I hovered around there, and then I just cut down. And the goal was to run 10 miles in that sort of like top end pace zone that I'd set myself for the marathon. And then the next 10 miles in that lower end. And it worked a treat. I got 23 miles done. And the first 10 miles were like 6:03 per mile in the end. And then the next 10 miles were 5:59. And I plan to pretty much replicate that strategy. It worked really well. I hate with a passion looking at a halfway split in a marathon. It puts way too pressure in my little pea brain. I'm not interested in looking at that. So by splitting it at that point, and I manually lap my watch, I don't get any half marathon splits. I avoid a clock. If I see one coming, I look the other way. I'm just not interested. Get the first 2 miles done nice and calmly, and then just cut the run down and just bring it down. This time my pace range I set myself was 6:05 to 5:55. So the plan again will be to run the first 10 miles in that top end zone, and then the second 10 miles in that bottom end zone. So if I can bring that down to sort of like 6:01, 6:02 for the first 10 miles, and then more so something like 5:56, 5:57 for the next 10 miles, that would be absolutely incredible. That's what I plan to do. That's how I plan to approach the race. And when it's come to marathons, starting off slower has always worked better for me. Now, in terms of the remainder of the training, nothing's changing in terms of my Sunday and Monday video schedule at this stage. So please do tune in this Sunday and Monday to find out what happens this week. So I still have a big chunky marathon session this week. And of course, my biggest long run of the block to come this weekend. So I'm excited to share all of that with you and hopefully take you down to race day injury-free and ill-free. Just got to keep those kids in quarantine, as someone said recently, and I absolutely agree. Now, why have I produced this video 3.5 weeks out? Well, the reason is I've often found that when I produce it towards the end as a content creator, and I love to, I'll label myself as a content creator and someone that likes to tell a story and take you guys along a journey with me. Hence why I produce weekly training series video, because I want you to follow the highs and the lows. And I personally, my favorite YouTube channels out there are the ones that do the same. I'm engaged with them and I watch them. I love to learn about other people's training. That's my thing. I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, the flashiest YouTube content creator in the running space out there. There are plenty, there are probably hundreds of better edited YouTube videos than mine in the running space. But all I aim to do is take you on a journey so that you don't miss a trick. And I find that in race week and the week before, my mind is so occupied with creating content and I'm not necessarily focused on the race that I can often get distracted. My mind wanders, and it doesn't often end up being the best build-up. This time, I just kind of really want to laser focus in on Abingdon. I just want to enjoy it and not feel pressured that I have to produce certain videos by a certain time. So I'm excited to just roll down gently into the Abingdon taper and just produce the training videos and the long run videos and whatever else comes along the way, and hopefully answer all of your questions nice and early before we get down to that stage where there's any pressing questions or anything that I've missed. The only other thing that I have forgotten to say, I don't think there's any tracking for this marathon, so realistically the first time you'll see the results is when I upload them onto Strava, or if you check the Abingdon Marathon website, I'm sure they'll appear on there pretty soon after the race. But there we go, that's the reason why I wanted to get this one done and dusted and out there now. As I mentioned, if you do have any other questions, please do drop them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them down there. And once again, I can't thank you enough for following the training journey. I really appreciate it. You guys give me that rocket up the backside that I need to get out the door, and I appreciate it, and I hope I can reciprocate in some way for you guys as well. That's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you on the next one.